BSE and NSE exchanges, and we redeemed the entire NCDs and reported a strong business performance for the full financial year. On this occasion, I would like to thank all the stakeholders for their trust and support, and for our own team at Archean who have held the hand and supported the journey to get listed. We all have been a spectator of many uncertain events during the year and have curtailed the growth momentum of many industries across the globe, and the chemical industry in which we are was no exception. China, the world's largest producer and consumer of various goods, has been facing multiple hiccups due to restrictive COVID-19 policies the last couple of quarters, and that has disrupted the overall supply chain as well across industries, resulting in a demand-supply mismatch and instability in the prices. Coming to our own company performance, we're glad to inform you that the company was able to report a healthy performance for the year, registering a revenue of rupees 14,852 million or 1,485 crores for FY23, a growth of 30% year-on-year basis. Just to reiterate, we are the leading manufacturer of marine chemicals from India and specialty marine chemicals from India. Bromine, industrial salt, and sulfate of potash are the key products in our portfolio. We are majorly export-oriented, and the key geographies which we export to are Japan, China, South Korea, Qatar, Belgium, and the Netherlands, and many other geographies both in the Middle East as well as Far East. Coming to the segment-wise updates, to start with bromine. Bromine is our primary product and contributes nearly half the total revenue. As you are all aware, we hold the leadership position in India's bromine merchant sales and are the largest exporter from India. We continue to hold that position as of FY23 as well. It is important to note that bromine is widely used in pharma, agrochemicals, water treatment, flame retardants, additives, and oil and gas segments. These industries, but only a handful of companies manufacture this product in India. Demand continues to be strong for bromine in the first half of FY23, which has been partly negated, no doubt, by staggered shipment in second half of FY23. Due to the large client base that we have, we were able to divert the business to the domestic market, which continues to witness a healthy growth. We witnessed some aberration in the bromine price for the last couple of quarters, as we discussed even during the January call. We believe the spot prices of bromine have been normalized to pre-COVID levels. Any sharp volatility in the price of bromine will have minimal impact on us due to contract-based business that we have engaged in, and this varies from client to client based on size and scale of business of particular clients. For FY23, overall bromine business grew by 17% on year-on-year basis, and production volume stood near 19,000 metric tons. Moving on to industrial salt. Industrial salt is another main product, and nearly another half of the total revenue comes from this product. So industrial salt, as you again may be aware, primarily finds its application in caustic soda and soda ash on a global basis. The year gone by, industrial salt has performed well compared to the other segments due to higher volumes and improved contracted prices. Volume offtake of salt has been strong from all existing customers. We've also added a few customers in FY23, thereby increasing the volume vis-a-vis FY22, notably. And we've received quite a few new inquiries as well. The capacity utilization for salt has been more than 100% for FY23 and is expected to sustain the growth momentum in coming quarters given the order book. Sulfate of potash. We're the only manufacturers of sulfate of potash natural sea brine in India. We are negotiating with a few customers and expect to increase production, which will reflect in next year's business performance. On the capacity expansion, we continue to invest in expanding our capacity and capability. We are pursuing an existing plan and expect to commence the said projects within the planned timelines. We will be expanding our product portfolio of bromine performance derivatives like flame retardants, clear brine fluids, and bromine catalysts at Jagadia. This greenfield site and expansion at Jagadia is on track and expected to commence production by the end of FY24. Coming to industrial salt, we will be adding additional capacity on the washing lines and increase by another 250 tons per hour capacity, and is expected to commence in the latter part of FY24. So that's it from my side. Now I would request our CFO, Mr. Raghunathan, to run through the financial performance.
Thank you, sir, and a very good afternoon to all the participants on the call. We are pleased to report a notable performance for the quarter that has just ended, and also for the full year FY23. Both bromine and industrial salt have reported reasonably a good performance during the period, as our MD has said. To give a summary on the performance of Q4 of FY 2023, total revenue for this quarter was at 3,909 million, that's around 391 crores, a growth of 4% on year-on-year basis for the quarter. Export market contributed around 70%, and the remaining 30% is from the domestic market. To say about the business mix, bromine contributed around 45%, and industrial salt has contributed around 55%. EBITDA for the company for the quarter of FY23 was at around 2,031 million, that's around 203, giving a growth of around 24% on Y-on-Y basis. EBITDA margin stood at 52%. The 52% is higher due to better realization in industrial salt as well as in bromine. Net profit after tax for the quarter was around 1,368 million, a growth of 67%. Higher growth in PAT when compared to EBITDA growth is due to reduction in the interest cost as a result of redemption of NCDs. Moving to the full year performance, total revenue for FY23 was at 14,852 million, a growth of around 30% on a Y-on-Y basis. Export market contributed around 73%, and the remaining 27% is towards the domestic market. To give you the business mix for the full year, bromine contributed around 49%, and industrial salt around 51%. EBITDA for the company for the full year stood at 6,785 million, a growth of 41% on a year-on-year basis, and the margin was at around 46%. Net profit after tax for the year stood at 3,831 million, a growth of 103% on Y-on-Y basis. Net profit growth has almost doubled due to reduction in the interest cost, coupled with better realization in liquid bromine as well as in the industrial salt. If we move on to the other updates, the net debt to equity stood at 0 for the period as a result of the redemption of NCD from the IPO proceeds. And returns on equity was at 45%, and ROC stood at 39% for the financial year FY23. With this, we conclude the speech and open the floor for Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Participants present on the audio bridge who wish to ask a question may press star and then 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and then 2. Once again, if you would like to ask a question, you may press star and then 1. The first question is from Sudarshan Padmanabhan of JM Financial PMS. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for taking my questions and congrats on great set of numbers. So I have 3 questions. The first question, the first 2 questions will be in a kind of a circular reference. The first question is, you made, we talked about the bromine prices, being lower, and that is primarily stemming in from, the higher, BFR inventory is what I've heard, from the industry sources. What I would like to understand from you is, we have a long-term contract which is helping us today. But as we move towards, newer contracts, do we see the risk of prices being much lower than what it is today? And second is, since, our derivatives capacity is coming in later on this year, in the third quarter, do we have visibility in terms of offtake, or do we see, risk on that side?
Thank you for the question. So I'll take it. So I think you're right in your observation. The results obviously were coming from better prices of bromine. But having said that, the reality also is, as I mentioned, there are headwinds, across the entire chemical industry. So I think bromine is no exception. there is a large amount of destocking that is going on in the overseas market, and I believe that will continue through the next 3 to 5 months. So now, having said that, I think the domestic market continues to be firm. Yes, there is some pricing pressure on the product, but nevertheless, I think we've always maintained that our focus continues to be on maintaining the EBITDA margins. And at the moment, we don't see a problem with volume. On the second question regarding the derivatives, we have started addressing the market from a customer perspective on the offtake of derivatives. The plant is still in early stages of construction, so it will gather momentum, the marketing of these products, I think, towards September, October of this year. So that will be at least, give us 4 to 5 months before we start commercial production. So that would give us enough time to do that marketing.
Sure, sir. And so one question from my side before I join the queue. 2 parts to it. One is, clearly we've seen the margins going up substantially, and I think, we are seeing transportation costs, which is, very critical for us, and power costs coming down. So I would assume that partly your guidance of margins being healthy is also because of that. And second is on the SOP side. While the outlook looks quite encouraging, we have hardly been able to book anything this, year. Is there anything that is going to be visible in the first quarter, and what could be the quantum one can expect in the, second half of this year?
So I think our margin, just to reiterate, I think we've always said this in the past, and we continue to maintain that. I think our margin target has always been in the 40-45% range, give or take. So that I think we'll continue to aim to maintain that. Regarding sulfate of potash, the market continues to be firm on the product demand side. We do have about 8,000 odd tons in stock that we will look to, liquidate ASAP. We are in touch with a few customers, and I think later on towards the year, we will pick up the production again.
Sure, thanks a lot, sir. I'll join.
Thank you.
The next question is from Sanjesh Jain of ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Hey, good morning, sir. Thanks for taking my questions. A few questions. First, on the volume, can you give us the FY23 as well as Q4 volume for all the 3 segments?
Yeah, Sandesh, I'll take this question. Bromine production for Q4 is around 5,078 tons versus 5,121 in the Q4 of the previous year. And for the full year, the total production is around 18,950.
Sir, we cannot hear you. I think your voice is actually going low.
Okay. For the full year, the bromine production is around 18,950, as against 20,200 in the previous year. And coming to salt, for Q4, total production is at 1.2 million versus 1.12 in the 1.01 for the previous quarters, for previous year's quarter, and for the full year, it's 4.02 versus 3.58 million tons.
And for SOP this quarter, have we sold anything?
SOP for this financial year, I produced around 8,840 tons.
And no sales, right?
Versus 2,400 in the previous year.
Got it. Thank you. That's first on the number. Second, on the salt side, phenomenal performance. I think the realization is upwards of $22 now. Ranjit, how should we see the salt demand and the growth with the new washery? We can achieve 5 million metric ton per annum. That should be doable in FY24, or it will take more than that? That should be achievable in FY25 full year, because I think in 24 it will start at the end of the 24. And what is driving this realization, and how sustainable is it?
So thank you for the question, Sanjesh. So I think, as you rightly said, our capacity expansion will come on towards the end of FY24, so the benefits of that will probably accrue in FY25. Our intention is the capacity should match the demand at that point in time, and given the fact that we have a very strong position in that segment in the Asian market, we would like to see that we're able to utilize it again at 100% in terms of sales, production and sales. The second part of your question, I think the market is strong because the end user industries, I think, continue to perform. As you know, caustic has a wide variety of uses, some major ones, some minor ones, but across the board, I think there's a good offtake because of the chlorine byproduct use, the Far East and Middle East. Chlorine, as you know, is a basic building block for a lot of the downstream petchem products and plastics. So I think that's primarily the driver there. And the fact that we have a long-term relationship with many of the clients, I think we're able to see us perform both on delivery and on quality on a consistent basis. So our market share with each customer is something that we are trying to increase as we go forward.
Fair enough. No, I was more concerned from the realization because if you look at the caustic prices are down from 60 rupees to now 35 rupees a kg. And if you look at soda ash also, there are multiple news and multiple locations. There is a pressure on the soda ash prices. Considering that the end market is seeing the huge pressure on the realization, do you expect salt prices to sustain at the levels we are today?
I think more than half of volume is contracted out. So I think the realization will hold. The other half where we have shorter term nature contracts, as has been typical in the past, I think, again, the chemical industry itself is facing some headwind on the prices. So there would, I suspect, be some sort of a moderation. But nevertheless, I think one point to keep in mind is what drives the requirement for our business in Asia, primarily the Far East, is the use of chlorine, right? I think that's the driving factor here. So you have a lot of these guys who have expanded capacities on the downstream side. So I think we don't see too much of a challenge on that front.
Got it. No, even there, I think PVC prices are at a massive stress. But point taken. Second, on the bromine side of it, when do you see, because your peers have really not changed materially their guidance on the bromine business for this calendar year. So how should we see for us in terms of bromine prices? Because they have an advantage of selling downstream. The prices are less volatile while we are largely into the elemental bromine. How should this year end for us? Are we confident that we will be a flattish realization versus last year, or do you think our realizations will come down to $4 or sub $4? And what is the anticipation on the new contract signing for the long term in the bromine?
So I think fair question. There is like we said, I think in the last couple of quarters we have seen a fair amount of volatility, as I mentioned during my introduction. So I think that headwind we will continue to face. But I think the good thing is, again, it's all about managing the customer and the expectations on one side, domestic, and the other one is the export market. The export market will, I suspect, take at least 4-5 months to pick up. We will be doing some reasonable volume. But having said that, I think on the domestic front is where we are focusing more of the bromine volume at the moment. The average realization, I think we expect it to be, I think what we have said during the investor presentations in the past, should be in line with that, I think what you've indicated.
Got it. One last bookkeeping question. Raghu sir, this employee cost, I think there is a fair bit of mix in that in terms of the ESOP and chairman commission and all. So can you just strip out and tell what is the recurring part of the employee cost and this ends this year, or this elevated employee cost will also be there for FY25?
In the employee cost, as I said, we have ESOPs and MD commission also coming into it. And the ESOP as a provision will continue for next couple of years. And
Okay.
So if you look at it as an average cost, it will be close to around 75 crores per annum.
So that 75 crore is the continuing which we should then build in the model, right?
Yes.
Got it. That's it from my side. Thank you for answering all the questions, and best of luck for the coming quarters.
The next question is from Krishan Parvani of JM Financial. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for taking my question and congrats on a good set of numbers. So, firstly, on a couple of clarification on the salt business. I think we mentioned more than half of our business is contracted. So, just wanted to check whether this realization jump that you've seen in salt. So this contracted part has also seen a jump, and so that means for the next, because I think you have 2 years contract, right? So should we see a higher realization for this part for the next 2 years?
I think, thanks for the question. I think the prices that I mentioned that we have contracted, I think have kicked in only this past quarter, in the fourth quarter of this year, because the prices are generally contracted on a calendar year basis. So yes, so if you take 2 years, it would be out 2 years from then.
Okay. So basically, your long-term customers have agreed for the price hike. Great. And for the other half, you have taken any price cuts, or what have you done there?
Not yet. I think we have some ongoing contracts which are still being executed over the next quarter or so. And
Okay.
then I think, like I said, some of these are long-term customers. So broadly, we don't see the variation being too much on those contracts vis-a-vis the long-term contract rate.
Okay, great. So that was on salt. And on bromine, just couple of clarifications. So I think, so we wanted to understand, as in, let's say if the spot price of bromine is $4, right? And when you are renewing your contract, let's say to what discount you would be kind of getting into the contract? Not the specific, but just a ballpark number should do.
Ideally, I think our executive director doesn't like to give any discounts, but having said that, I think at the moment we're not seeing a pressure for people to discount beyond the range you have indicated. I think, of course, as any business would have, you'll have certain larger customers with a longer offtake. So I think for them, there may be something, given there. But I would imagine it's not, I would imagine all of it to be within a single digit range.
Okay. So, okay, fair point. Got your, got your answer there. And just one clarification in terms of the volume front of bromine. So you mentioned 5,078 for this quarter, right?
Yes, that's the production number.
And the sales number?
Sales number is 4,400.
4,400. And what was it in the previous quarter, like 3Q23?
Q3 of this financial year around 4,000.
Yes, 4,000. So basically, you have seen a jump in bromine volumes, and that's entirely because of the domestic volumes, you're saying?
Primarily.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. And so what was it in the 4Q22? The same number, just so that it's comparable?
So 5,500.
Okay. 4Q22 sales volume was 5,500. Got it. Yeah. Thank you so much for answering all of my questions and all the
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The next question is from Amar Moria of AlfAccurate Advisors. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So thanks a lot for the opportunity. Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, you are. Yeah, yes, you are.
Yeah. Sir, if you can help me with the yearly sales volume for FY23 for bromine and FY22 for bromine, as well as for the salt.
See, for FY23, bromine sales is around 18,700 tons.
Okay.
You want in terms of tons or in terms of value?
Tons.
Okay. So 18,700 tons is the sales volume, as against 20,250 in the previous year. And coming to salt, yeah, it's around 3.75 million tons for FY23, as against 3.58 in the previous year for 12 months.
Okay. So basically, sir, how do we see the volume offtake basically in FY24? I mean, is it going to remain flat, or do we see some growth in the bromine part of the business?
I think we will see growth. I think we're hopeful that the current trend will continue. But maybe we hope, like I said, post 4-5 months, it should pick up.
Okay. So full year basis, at least a high single digit kind of a growth possible, or?
I think we would possibly be looking a little bit more than that.
Okay. So you are saying more than high single digit. Okay. And sir, in terms of the volume, in terms of the pricing of the bromine, at what prices we had contracted, let's say for next 1 year, if we can give?
I think since you're asking us to talk about a forward-looking this thing, I would possibly say that I think in the earlier gentleman who asked the questions, I think the price indication they've given, I think those ranges are probably what you're looking at going forward for the next 12 months.
Okay. And sir, how about the salt volume we see next year?
Same. I think the volume growth should be in more than a single digit.
More than a single digit.
We continue to be quite aggressive on that front.
Okay. And we are confident that pricing will remain at this level for the salt. Hello?
Sorry. Yeah. Were you asking a question? Or I thought you were saying you're making.
No, I'm saying the pricing for the salt will largely remain at this level,
Yeah, I think so. I believe as we spoke about a few minutes ago, I think we talked about longer term contracts. So I think the prices will be visible on that front.
Okay. And sir, this sulfate of potash, this 8,000 metric ton which we are talking about, will be able to serve that in FY24 on a full year basis?
Yes.
And on a overall basis, what should be the volume we are looking for sulfate of potash on total basis?
I think that should also possibly, apart from this 8, I think we're hoping for in the at least, if not a similar quantity, at least a bit higher.
Sorry, I didn't got it. If not
the same volume of 8,000, I think we're looking at least a bit higher.
Bit higher. Okay. Perfect, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The next question is from Pritesh Chheda of Lucky Investment Management. Please go ahead.
Sir, can you tell what is the value addition of bromine derivatives over base bromine?
Thank you for that question, but can you maybe help clarify what exactly you mean?
So if bromine is $4, then some of these products in derivatives, what is their range of prices?
Okay. So Rajiv will take the question.
Thank you. So to answer your question, on the market prices of bromine, we expect to make a bit between 25 to 30% in derivative segment.
Sorry, I didn't understand your answer.
So whatever is the market prices of bromine, if you take that as your input cost, we will be making 25 to 30% of margin.
And what will be the realization of those products?
It depends, because there will be different derivatives that which we will be making, and input of bromine is different. So it will all depend upon what kind of product mix we are selling. That will determine the end product value.
Any range you want to share? You, in any case, have 3 products, right, which is mentioned on the PPT.
So, for example, flame retardant will have between 0.6 to 0.6 and 6.5 bromine input. So you can take that as a reference point. 30% plus on bromine prices, you can do EBITDA there. Similarly, for brine fluid, it will be 0.25 to 0.3 bromine, and for the other PTA catalyst synthesis, it will be around 0.45 to 0.5.
Okay, understood. And second, you mentioned that half of your bromine is long-term contract and the other half is spot. So at least on that half, and on the other side, you mentioned that you expect prices to sustain for your business. So, but these two things don't match, right? So if half of it is contractual and half of it is spot, so at least on the spot you will see lower bromine prices flowing through, right?
So I think this goes back to a question that was asked earlier in the call.
Yeah, there were 2 different questions and you answered on these 2 ways, so I'm just confused.
Sure, let me clarify that for you. So I think the contracted prices are that have come over the last quarter or so, couple of quarters. So there has been, I think, a revision in the pricing, and the spot contracts are pretty much mostly domestic, which are holding compared to the export market. So I think what we mean is that I don't recall the analyst who had asked the question, but he had given an indication of is it going to be around the $4 mark. I think we said that's a reasonable assumption.
So you had a $4 realization last year and you see a $4 realization this year. And what is the spot selling at currently?
We don't sell spot.
I don't think we sell spot in the typical nature of spot. Like, for example, I think if you're asking me, somebody wants 1 tank of bromine, which is, let's say, 20 tons tomorrow, we don't do that. So I think when we say spot, it means a bit different. Spot means, you know what, someone who's asked for the next 4 months. Right?
So you'll have a 3 monthly, so you'll have a 3 monthly spot nature. That 3 monthly or a 4 monthly spot nature, which gets reviewed every 3 or 4 months, what is that selling at? $4?
The same range, yeah, that we have indicated, yes, on an average.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. So, Srikanth, do we...
Apologies. Sorry, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, just a reminder, if you would like to ask a question, you're welcome to press star and then 1 on your touchtone phone. The next question is from Amish Kanani of JM Financial Services.
Yeah, hi, sir. Sir, if you can give us a flavor of, why the market is so volatile and, who's destocking. I just want to understand whether there are new producers from China who's come and kind of impacted the market, or end clients are destocking because they were running higher than usual inventory. And if you can give us some flavor of the market, why it's changed and why it's so volatile.
So, thanks for the question. So I believe that it's a combination of factors, but primarily it's got to do with destocking. I think we had a team out in China last month, That's the first visit that anyone's managed post the lockdowns being lifted. So on one hand, you have a industry that's downstream industry that's slowly picking up post these lockdowns, etc., being lifted, returning to normalcy. So that's the good part. But having said that, they have procured bromine at very high prices. In fact, during my investor roadshows last year, we had said that those prices were not sustainable, the $7-8 prices. We said that's not normal. And I think it's happened across a lot of industry groups, not just bromine, not just the chemical industry, across everything like auto, etc. So people have stocked or possibly even overstocked in many cases simply because of the supply chain disruption. So I think it's just a matter of time where this destocking is a natural process, and people are not used to situations that have happened in the last couple of years. So it's just returning to normalcy. I don't see it as abnormal, which is why I used a specific word in my introduction. I said it's an aberration. So we just have to wait for that evenness to come out over the next 4 or 5 months. The industry fundamentals still remain strong. I think that's important to note. The flame retardants, for example, are not going away anywhere. Electronics are not going away anywhere. Car tires are not going away anywhere. So I think some of the uses of these products will continue. And insofar as the Indian industry is concerned, I think you all are more aware than I am about the strength of the agrochemical industry. Some headwinds will always happen, but I think the ultimate focus is on how is the demand growing as an overall industry. I think that usage of bromine still continues to be strong. That's our view.
Sure, sir. That helps. And sir, in terms of understanding the nature of spot versus long-term contract, and what I understood based on your response also was there are some few short-term contracts, which is say 3 months, which you might consider to be spot from your perspective. But if you can give us some sense of how globally how the spot price influences our realization.
I think spot price unfortunately gives a knee-jerk reaction, and I think that's something we have to be careful of. So the customers generally we have, the smaller ones do or are more sensitive. The larger ones have a much larger time frame of outlook. So I think it is only fair to expect the small ones to have more pressure on price, and the longer ones possibly will have a little bit less pressure on price, but look to a more even pricing over the course of 6 months or even up to a year.
And sir, I understand that we are the cost leaders globally, but are other players, who are, above our cost curve, are they making money at these prices, or you think it is, really not sustainable, and hence these pressures will die down quickly?
I would hope that they are doing business and making money, and I think everyone is probably making money, would be my best guess. The reason being that I think margins are there, the market is there. Again, it's not about having a 1 quarter or 2 quarter outlook, but I think fundamental industry needs to be seen in that context. So I think people are making money. Now, how much money? I think that is everyone's choice about how they do the pricing or what kind of strategy they use.
Sure, sir. That helps. And sir, one last question before I go back to the queue is, absorbing the technology. We have not been into manufacturing of chemical and +1 stage. So if you can give us, and you did mention about, we are making the markets ready, about say 3-4 months advance by, doing some work. But if you can also give us some sense of, how well are we positioned to quickly absorb the technology, because, it's new for us in a way. And how is our technology partners helping us to do that quickly?
No, fair question. I think whenever you start a business, I think you'll be likely an entrepreneur starting a product for the first time. So I think we are comfortable with doing something the first time. And the reason we are comfortable is, one, I think we have the right team. I think we have a good R&D team. Like I mentioned on the call earlier, we have an executive director, Mr. Lakshesh, who's come on board in January. He comes with a hardcore agrochemical background. So I think in terms of chemistry, we are well equipped to handle the technology. And also from, I think, a market perspective, I think we have all the right places that we've been in business with already. So it's a little bit more of an extension of the market we are in. And I think we continue to discover that there's enough and more interest in these products that we're going to make. And we're comfortable, in seeing the progress on ground. And I think from a marketing perspective, I think we don't want to put the horse before the cart too much in advance. I think we need to wait until the plant can see some readiness in terms of structure, etc. So clients also have not only visibility but have comfort that you're promising them some products 4 months or 5 months down the line, and it's fairly visible to them. So I think we got to time it that way, and which is why I said September, October is when we'll start on a serious marketing effort. But at the moment, we're already in touch with potential customers.
Sure, sir. That helps. All the best, and looking forward to a good year.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
The next question is from Rohit Nagraj of Centrum Broking. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. So first question is that, as I understand, and please correct me if I'm wrong, globally there are limited number of producers for bromine. So structurally, how the pricing is decided, I mean, except for the last couple of years where there has been an aberration, prior to this, what were the variables which were used in terms of pricing bromine? And generally, those prices go up with inflation-adjusted basis, or probably the largest player usually dictates the prices and others will follow. Just wanted some dynamics from the pricing perspective. Thank you.
That's a good question. I think there is no one who really sets the price. As you yourself mentioned, it is a restricted commodity and trade. It's only done sold by a handful of people, especially at the volumes that we kind of do. So in that context, I think no one really fixes a price and expects everyone to follow it. Everyone fixes their price depending on the customer that they have and the volume that each one buys. So I would say it's not an established benchmark or an index like the more commonly traded chemicals or hard goods.
Sure. And just an allied question to this. In terms of margins, so bromine margins usually are higher than salt margins or vice versa, given that probably there would be players who are just producing bromine and not salt. Thank you.
So are you asking that people who produce bromine and salt, the salt has a lower margin than bromine?
Yeah, I mean, is there any difference between the margins of bromine and salt for a pure bromine player who is not producing salt? The margins would be higher and vice versa. Yep.
Right. Understood. I think our strength has always been as a specialty marine chemicals company to be an integrated producer of bromine, salt, and potash. So that's how we see our strength, being able to supply 3 products from our asset. So I believe that the margins that we're talking about, which is why we have a composite margin, I think the 40-45% range margin, I think that's sustainable because there are quarters where you have bromine doing better, there are quarters you have salt doing better, and in the near future we hope SOP also comes on stream in terms of contribution. So I think that makes a lot of sense from a company perspective, having 3 products instead of just 1.
Right, got it. Just one last question on the contract which we have spoken earlier. So currently for bromine and for salt, if I'm not wrong, it is almost half of the quantities or volumes are being contracted. Can you just give us the timeline till when both these volumes have been contracted for the next 1.5 years or 2 years? Anything on that? Thank you.
So for bromine, it is for the next 1 year. For salt, we are contracted for next 2 years.
Sure. That's helpful. Thanks a lot for answering all the questions and best of luck.
Thank you.
The next question is from Agam Shah as an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Majority of my questions are answered. Just a quick question on the lease part renewal of the runoff cuts the government you have. So anything on have you renewed your contract?
Thank you for the question, sir. I think it's under progress.
Nothing that will drawback. So it's going as per process, right?
Yeah, it's going as per process, as we've indicated in the past, yes. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
The next question is from Yash Dantewadia of Dante Equity Research. Please go ahead.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes.
So what I understand from your greenfield expansion is the bromine derivatives are obviously downstream products, right? High-end flame retardants, clear, drying fluids, and the PTA.
Sorry, you were audible but not clear. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, I'm saying the greenfield expansion of 250 CR is basically a downstream derivative expansion, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what kind of asset turnover are you expecting from that particular plant?
So we had indicated it in our last call also. We are expecting it to be in the range of 3 times.
3 times. And also, what percentage of your production is going to be used in this greenfield expansion? Basically, what I'm asking you is, what percentage of your bromine production will be used in the downstream production of for this greenfield plant?
So at peak capacity utilization, we expect about 40% to be used captively.
40%. And also, just I know you've explained it, but I'm a fairly new investor. So I just want to understand, if you have the patience, is how are you able to maintain these margins even when bromine has, declined by 30-40%? Question number one. And second part is, could you give a short-term guidance at least? I know it's difficult to give a long-term guidance for chemical margins. If you could maybe give a guidance for the next quarter, where do you see your OPM?
So I think the reason why we have good margins, I think, is we managed to get the best prices given our performance and our delivery and quality with customers over a long period of time. And second is we are very efficient in what we do. I think someone referred to this in the earlier conversations about us being in the lowest cost quartile. I think we've been able to maintain that position where we are in terms of cost of manufacturing. And I think the third question is I would at this point would like to refrain from giving a short-term guidance because it becomes a guidance. And I would be happy if you could infer from the conversations in the past hour or so. I think we've indicated where we would be in the next 12 months.
Yeah, the 12-month guidance that you've given, basically, not guidance, you've indicated is I think around 40 to 45 odd %, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
So yeah,
like
thank you.
That, yeah.
What? Sorry?
We would like to maintain at that range, yes. You're right.
Yeah. So also, if your 40% is going in the derivative, in the bromine derivative production, then how do you, after the greenfield expansion, comes online, do you see your OPMs expanding?
They should ideally, yes, because as my colleague mentioned on the call, when the derivative project is up and running, we are expecting 25 to 30% margin there, but that takes into account the market price of bromine as an input cost.
Yeah, so I'm just contemplating that basically what you're telling me is that if you look at the company from a 2-year, 3-year perspective after this greenfield expansion comes online, would it be safe to say that your OPMs won't decline at least?
That is our endeavor, sir, to make sure that it doesn't decline, because we need to maintain that robustness in both cost control as well as product pricing.
And also, just confirming this, 3 times of, the 250 CR odd. So you're expecting sales close to 700 crore, which basically means, it's highly possible for you to 2x, 3x your sales in the next 2 to 3 years, right?
Apologies, I did not follow the question clearly.
I'm saying your asset turnover for the greenfield expansion is basically 3x, right?
Yes, that's the aim too, yeah.
Yeah, so you're basically expecting sales close to 600 to 700 crore from that plant?
Yeah. Yes, that would be a fair assumption, yes.
Yeah. So would it be safe to assume that in the next 2 to 3 years or so, your overall top line should grow by at least 2 times?
It should, yes. That's the aim.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much for taking my questions. I'll get back in. Yeah.
The next question is from Jainam Gilani of Swan Investments. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. All my questions have been answered. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next question is from a follow-up from Amar Moria of Alpha Accurate Advisors. Please go ahead.
Sir, in terms of this sulfate of potash, what kind of pricing we should assume?
I think we had modeled $450 as the price during our road shows, and I think we're maintaining that as a safe assumption.
$450. Okay. Per metric ton. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So, thank you everyone for joining us in this earnings call. We appreciate your time and showing interest in our company, and we hope that you continue to repose faith in our company and us. In case of any queries, you can get in touch with us or SGA, our investor relations advisors. We look forward to meeting all of you over the next call, and have a good day. Thank you.
On behalf of Archean Chemical Industries Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.